Hey guys, welcome back to our Back to Basics Farm Sim series. Here we're going to take a look at planters and seeders. So now that we have prepared a nice seed bed, we're going to take a look at how we get our crop in the ground so it can start growing. Here we have an Amazon DB30 seeder. We have a Vanderstand Spirit R300S seeder. Now, the main difference between these two is that the Amazon is a seeder that requires a field that is either plowed or cultivated to work, whereas the Vanderstand is a direct seeder. It means that we can basically go straight from harvesting a crop to planting or seeding new crop into the ground. And then on the planter side, we have the Limkin Azuret 9 as a demonstration of just basically the differences between a planter and a seeder. So what we're going to do is we are going to run all three of these over two different types of fields. So over here we have a little bit of a wheat field that we have already harvested. We've got little windrows of straw, but that's okay, it doesn't matter. So we're going to run our planters and seeders through this ground and basically see the difference between a direct seeder and a indirect seeder, if you will. And then over here, we have our prepared seed bed. We have our cultivated ground. Then I went ahead and left some of this field in a plowed state. Now, one last thing that we're going to demonstrate is I went ahead and picked up this Rabe Power Harrow that we talked a little bit about in the previous video related to preparing a seed bed. And we're basically going to demonstrate how you can use this Power Harrow with this Amazon seeder to basically do the equivalent of the Vanderstand Spirit R300 on the harvested ground. First up, let's grab our Amazon seeder, because I want to demonstrate how you put seed into your seeders or planters. First thing we need to do is we need to attach, and I've got a pallet of seed over here. Basically need to pull up alongside it. You'll see that the door opens up all by itself, and then we can basically hit the R button. If we look at our F1 menu, you see it says refilled sower R. The seed is going into the sower or seeder, and then once the pallet is empty, it will vanish. Then the lid just closes on its own. Now, a feature of Farm Sim 19 is that you can unload your seeders, your fertilized spreaders, your planters. And the way to do that is you hit the I button. Go ahead and do that. And what it does is it spawns a pallet with the seed or fertilizer or lime that was in that particular implement. Go over here and fill it back up again. An alternate way of filling this up would be to have front loader arms and then to basically lift the pallet up over the seeder, and then it would basically flow in from the bottom. Over here to our prepared seed bed. And now that we have our seed in the seeder, let's talk about what kinds of crops we can seed with a seeder versus a planter. Go to the tools, we go to seeders. So you're going to see all of these seeders are basically going to have the same crops listed. Okay, and those crops are wheat, barley, canola, oat, soybean, oilseed radish, and grass. So it's a little difficult when the locations jump around like that. Basically, our seeders are going to do wheat, barley, oat, canola, or soybeans, oilseed radish, and grass. Now our planters are going to do what I typically call a row crop. They're going to do corn, sunflowers, soybeans. So planters or seeders, either way, will interchange and do soybeans, sugar beets, or cotton. Now, we do have potatoes in the game, but potatoes require a special potato planter. We have potato planters over here under potato technology. So what we can do is we basically in the game have a universal seed. You don't have to put wheat seed in, corn seed, sunflower seed. That might be interesting, but we don't have to worry about that. We don't have to manage a bunch of different types of seed. We basically have magic universal seed here in Farm Sim. So we hit the Y key, and basically as we toggle the Y key, you're going to see in the F1 menu, as well as down here in the lower right, the icon's going to change in the lower right, as well as the wording of the input. You have barley, oat, canola, soybeans, oilseed radish, grass, and back to wheat. And what we want to do is we want to lower our seeder. Do that with the V key. Then we want to turn our sower on. We do that with the B key. And now if you look up there in the upper left corner, we rotate it so it's easy to see. You see our tractor icon. Then you're going to see our quarter circle behind the tractor is down by the wheels, down by the virtual ground, if you will, and it is orange. That is telling me that it is turned on. If I hit B again, now it is white. If I lift it up, you'll see the icon raise up. Lower it again. Turn it on. And off we go. I'm going to hire a helper, and I'm just going to let him do a pass up and back. See, we now have wheat. Field info screen there says it is growing. Now, ignore the fact that this says need plowing and lime. I basically reset this field real quick because I re-recorded this video, and well, apparently forgot to do that. Now, when this seeder comes back, we're going to take this and go straight over to that harvested field and basically try to run it through the field, and you'll see what it does. Now, if we look at our field info, the escape menu, you'll see we have a strip of wheat listed as growing. Then we have cultivated ground, plowed ground, harvested ground, and ready to harvest. Just before we do harvested ground, let's just demonstrate that this works also on plowed ground. We are now feeding on plowed ground also with this Amazon seeder. Let's quickly go over here. Doesn't really matter where we attempt to plow or plant this or seed it. Let's drop it down, turn it on. See up there, our little tractor icon is blue. Implement icon is blue. One thing you can see is in the lower right, our seed level is not going down. It is staying at 915. Now, while it did put the grooves in, you'll see that when we stand over top of where we just went, it just says harvested. Didn't actually do anything. Okay. Now let's add our power harrow to the mix. Really isn't much need to run the power harrow Cedar combination on our prepared seed bed, because that'll do the exact same thing. Power harrow, remember, is going to cultivate directly in front of the Cedar. So it saves you one whole pass down the field. So it takes the job, it would have taken you, let's say, 20 minutes and makes it take 10 minutes. The way this works is we have to connect, obviously, the power harrow to the tractor first, and then back the power harrow up to the Cedar. And we get the connect icon, so we hit Q to connect. Now what we want to do is we want to cycle with G to the power harrow. You can see that's now highlighted in white. We want to lower that down. We want to turn it on. We have some animations down there. And if we simply just drive this through the field now, you see that we are cultivating the ground. And what we want to do is we want to toggle your Cedar with G. We want to lower that down to the ground. We want to turn that on. And now, see that our seed level is going down on the lower right. Cultivator is basically cultivating in that straw windrow as well as the stubble. And the Cedar is just immediately right behind it, feeding the ground. Now, if we go over here, you'll see this says harvested, and this says growing down on the field info screen. It says growing and harvested. Now let's get the Vanderstand Spirit. It is a direct feeder. So it's going to behave the exact same as the Amazon here on our prepared feed bed. We really don't need to bother with running it through that field. Don't need to worry with the power harrow, because this allows direct feeding. Let's look at it here in the shop. See the Spirit R300S says this machine offers the possibility to seed directly. No previous cultivating or plowing necessary. Let's change this one, Y, to canola. Drop our Cedar down. Turn it on with the B key. You can see that this is basically cultivating and seeding all at the same time. Once again, saving us time by keeping us from having to do multiple passes through the field. Typically, this does come at a horsepower penalty. These typically are bigger implements that require a little bit larger horsepower than the non-direct seeding equivalent. And you see this says growing canola. Look at the escape menu. You can see that we have 2 strips of growing now. And we have 2 different colors. So it's hard to see the wheat because it's the same color as the harvested ground. A little strip of it there. And you can see the canola. Would have probably thought about that and planted that other strip in something other than wheat. Now let's hook up to our limpkin planter. This particular planter has a companion hopper, front hopper to it. The front hopper contains fertilizer. Hit in to open the door. The little ladder and everything comes out. That has fertilizer in it. Whereas the back unit has seed in it. So this is going to basically feed or plant or crop and give it a layer of fertilization at the same time. Now when you buy this planter in the shop, it's this wide. What you want to do is you want to fold this up when you are driving it down the road, because trying to drive something that wide down the road is not going to be a good idea if we have AI traffic. The way this works is we hit X to unfold or fold. This particular planter also has ridge markers. I usually don't mess with ridge markers, but if you want, you can hit Z to extend the ridge marker. And then basically what this does is it will put a groove in the field. And then when you go down that way, you basically want to line the center of your tractor up with that line. And basically that will then tell you how far over you need to be. Hit Z, cycle the ridge markers, side to side, or on or off. Lower our planter. Cycle to our planter. Turn it on. See, this is not a direct planter, if you will. So we do have to use this on cultivated soil. So typically your planters need cultivated soil or plowed soil to work, whereas your seeders could be direct seed or indirect seeders, if you will. What we're going to do is we're going to do a pass right here on the plowed ground. We'll lower it. Before we turn it on, you're going to see down in the lower right, this particular planter does corn, sunflowers, soybeans, sugar beet, or cotton. We're going to do corn. I'm going to hire a helper so we can come in behind it. See that it is putting corn in the ground. That was over plowed ground. Now we're going to do the same thing over cultivated ground. Might be a little hard to see the different textures, but there is a subtle texture difference between cultivated and seeded. Then if we look at our information screen, we now have 2 strips of corn. And you'll see that we now have a strip in the middle of the field here that is fertilized. That is from our planter. Interesting enough, you'll see that our planter here, while it didn't actually plant, did put fertilizer in the ground over here where we were trying to put corn in. That is kind of an interesting side effect. We weren't actually putting corn in the ground. You guys, there you go. Hope now this helps you basically with understanding how you put your crop into the ground and some of your options. That some crops require a seeder, other crops require a planter, and pretty much the only crop that will work with either a seeder or a planter is soybeans. You need a custom planter for potatoes, and you also need a custom planter for sugarcane. You guys, let me know in the comments, what did you think of this back to basic planting and seeding video? What do you think of the back to basic series overall? Remember, this series is designed for the brand new player that has never played Farm Sim at all, ever. The videos for Farm Sim players will be coming in a future date. Those will be basically flagged as 200 or 300 level videos, if you will. We've got a few more 100 level videos in the mix. The next video that we're going to talk about is going to deal with fertilizer. Until next time, happy farming. Be sure to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell.